Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Happy 11th edition launch day. Games Workshop have updated the app and with it brings all new points changes to our armies. Today I'm going to be taking a deep dive into Grey Knights to see how we are affected. I won't spend much time on units that have remained the same, but I will recap them for anyone who is new or wanting to get into our faction. As always, leave a like and subscribe. Also leave a comment and let me know how your army has been affected. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. First off, we've got the Brother Captain. He's obviously First off, we've got the Brother Captain, who has received a 5-point increase. No other changes to his datasheet, however. With him still only being able to lead Terminators or Paladins, I believe he'll be a popular option to lead Terminators or Paladins because of the new detachment to Paladins being able to nicely match up with Banishers. Obviously, being able to dish out that lethal and or sustained will be absolutely fantastic. We will get into Terminators and Banishers more later on, but for now, the Brother Captain, solid choice. The Brotherhood Chaplain, he has remained at 65 points. Obviously this guy in 10th didn't receive a lot of love because his datasheet ability wasn't that great. Like I say, his datasheet has had not a single change to it. I believe he's going to be best with our Paladins in their new 1 DP detachment, especially with the Banishers pairing with it. With the new detachment, the Chaplain can give them +1 to charge, can re-roll charges as well. With the new change to Battle Shock, it makes his Battle Shock ability a bit better. With it being able to pair into Banishers, his 5-up leadership will really help our Paladins punch up even more now. I think it's a good change overall to leave him alone. Say he didn't really receive a lot of love as it was anyway. I've started to run one in my personal list and I can only say he's been doing absolute bits in helping my Paladins punch up. But hopefully we'll see more on the board with him remaining at the 65 points. Brotherhood Librarian. So this guy has gone up from 80 to 90 points. He's a very, very popular character to lead either our Terminators or a lot of people run him just solo as like a little scoring action monkey piece. His general datasheet remains the same. He has had a 10-point increase. The second or third version of this character that you run, it will cost you 100 points instead, which is a 20-point increase from what we knew him as. I still think he's going to be best either with a big brick or solo. I think if you were to run him with a smaller brick, you won't get as much value out of him, obviously with his 18-inch lone op. But sad change to see, but I can understand why with obviously the changes to Psychic. His Vortex of Doom weapon is quite punchy now. So obviously understandable change, can see why they've done it, but sad to see either way. Grandmaster Voldus, so huge points increase. He's gone from 110 points to 140 points. Apart from that, his datasheet hasn't changed. Still best with a brick of Paladins in my ability, especially when running them in Hallowed Conclave, being able to dish out mortals and then spend a command point on dishing out mortals. However, at the new cost of 140 points, I reckon he might just be priced out. GW are potentially trying to be a bit cautious with his pricing him a bit too high and then bringing him down instead of bringing him really low and then bringing him up. Bad change in my opinion. We didn't really see Voldus much anyway. He was definitely a niche pick. Don't think we'll see him much now as it stands at the 140 points. Obviously with the -1 to hit and the new changes to cover, he would be insanely tanky. But like I say, with these changes, I really don't think we'll see him much until GW either reduces cost or changes datasheet. Castellan Crow. So unlike Voldus, we saw this guy in near enough every single Grey Knights list, 10th edition, with how strong Warpbane Task Force was. So he's gone from 90 points to 100 points, so a 10-point increase. He can obviously still only lead Purifiers. I prefer him in a brick of 10. His datasheet hasn't really changed at all. And by really changed, I mean it hasn't changed at all. Understandable change with the new Psychic rule. Obviously with the new Purifying Flame it's always going to be Ballistic Skill 2 or 3, and then obviously it's Anti-Infantry 2. So we're hitting on 2s or 3s without being able to be that being able to be changed. It's an understandable change. So 10-point increase, definitely could have been worse, but I still think we'll see him plenty on the board. Brotherhood Champion remains at 70 points. His datasheet hasn't changed actually at all. I'm happy with that there's no changes because you don't really see him anyway. I reckon if you did have to take him, it's going to 100% be with strikes, purely because of his ability to give the unit advance and charge. It's not a good or a bad change. In my opinion, he does need a new datasheet, but hopefully that'll come with a codex. But yeah, Brotherhood Champion still remains the same. Probably never going to see him. Brotherhood Tech Marine. So he also remains 70 points with the same datasheet abilities and the same stat line. I'm not shocked at this purely because he will be in line with the other tech marines within Space Marines. If you had to take him, I reckon you'll probably see him in Sanctic Spearhead, which is the vehicle-focused detachment. You'll probably see him stood next to a Land Raider, babysitting a Dreadnought, obviously to give them that +1 to hit, and obviously he can reroll. He can't reroll. He can regain lost wounds to those vehicles. You don't really see him much now outside of niche lists or a bit of casual play. Don't think we're going to see him much more than we do now. However, I can definitely see him being in a couple of Sanctic Spearhead lists, especially with the new rate changes to Land Raiders that we'll get onto later on. The Venerable Dreadnought. So the first of our points drops. So the Dreadnought remains the same in terms of its data sheets and its stats. He does have a 10-point drop, but there is a 10-point tax on the third unit. So it means if you take 3 of him, the third unit will have a 10-point uptick. Honestly, I've seen I think one person in my time take him, so I genuinely don't think that 10-point increase will affect anyone. It's a nice general drop. We don't really see him much, but if you are going to take him, it will be in Sanctic Spearhead. Good change overall. Obviously 10 points doesn't seem like a lot, but shaving off points here and there, it's only going to help you, isn't it? So yeah, Dreadnought, decent drop. Hopefully we'll see him more. Grandmaster in Nemesis Dreadnought. So now we're on to our heavy hitters. So the Grandmaster has seen a 25-point drop. That is on the base Dreadnought. So there is a points tax on taking the third unit. So instead of 200 points, it'd be 215 for that third unit. And then Psy Cannons and Subliminators are both 15 points each. So it means running a Dreadnought like you would in 10th actually overall cost 5 points more than it did in 10th. Obviously, so I think it's a good change. I think we're going to see more varying loadouts for the guys now. I'm happy that the hammers were untouched because I really did think that they were going to get absolutely beamed. But I still think we're going to see 3 Dreadnoughts, like I say, especially in Sanctic Spearhead or in Warpbane Task Force. I don't think these price changes are going to impact them much, if at all. We just might see more people taking the other weapon loadouts instead. Onto the regular Nemesis Dreadnought. So he has had a 15-point drop from 210 to 195. He shares the Psy Cannon tax with the Grandmaster for 15 points. So obviously if you were going to run a Psy Cannon with him, he just jumps straight back up to his original 210 point, and also has the third unit points tax of 15 points. So same again with the normal Dreadnought. I'm happy to see it come down in price generally. I think it obviously opens up more loadouts for him, but with obviously the normal Dreadnought, he's only got the 3 weapons anyway, so I think if you're going to run him, you're going to just run him with the Psy Cannon and run him as you were last edition anyway. I do think with the new charging rules, however, I think we might see a couple more of these guys with them being able to charge into anything instead of just being stuck out in the open. Because with how the meta is currently, Dreadnoughts are incredibly squishy, so I reckon we'll see a couple more of these guys, maybe with the Psy Cannons, but I reckon we'll see more. So good change overall, happy to see the Dreadnoughts come down. Strike squads. So this one did shock me when I was reading it. So they have remained exactly the same. Thank God. They are probably the most auto-include unit we have in our army. The ability to scout and sticky objectives is huge. Their best run is a 5-man, in my opinion, just for the ability to drop up and down into smaller spaces. Obviously, with the changes to Deep Strike, this is going to be massive. It's fantastic not to receive a points change, purely because I did think that these guys were going to get one, if anyone. Really happy that they're not getting one, so I still think they will see at least minimum 2 of these in each Grey Knight list at 2,000 points. But yeah, happy to see that they didn't receive a change at all. Like I say, really was expecting a change, so happy that they're still the 120 points. Inceptor squads. Like previously with the strike squads, I really did expect these guys to get a points increase, especially now that they've got their 1 DP detachment. They still remain at the 125 points for the 5-man and the 250 points for the 10-man. They do gain a points tax on the third unit of 10 points, just in case you did want to run them. I personally think they're best in 5-mans, however with their new detachment, I can definitely see play for 10-mans. I know that the other YouTube channel, Objective Secured, runs them in 10s coming out of Rhinos, so I think we'll see more play on that. But yeah, good change overall. I did expect a bigger increase, so I'm very happy. I will take it. Very happy with this change. Purgation squads. So these guys have actually come down a little bit from 115 for 5 to 110 for 5, and then from 230 for 10 to 220 for 10. Obviously, this points drop is a bit deceptive, so let me get into that. So what I mean by that is the points drop on the base unit is obviously there, and you gain a tax of 10 points on the third unit. However, psi cannons for infantry squads are 5 points per psi cannon. So with purgation squads, obviously you can run 4 heavy weapons. So if you're going to run 4 psi cannons, it means you're going to add 20 points, which means that your squad of 5 actually are 15 points more expensive now. Probably going to see them most if you're running their detachment, which obviously can buff purgation squads, their psi cannons up to strength 10, which is huge. But you might see maybe 1 10-man. Wouldn't see the benefit of it, but you might see it as well. It's a pretty okay change overall. It's basically a points increase, because why would you not run psi cannons with the new changes to cover and psychic? You can definitely see play for the incinerators. But yeah, overall, good change. Did expect more, but overall happy. You might see purgations getting a bit more play now. Purifier squads. So these guys have gone up 5 points. So they've gone up 5 points for 5 of them, or 10 points for 10 of them. So they've effectively gone up a point a model. Their datasheet remains exactly the same, and obviously they are fantastic when paired up with Castellan Crow. They do gain a points tax on the third unit, which I think you'll only really see in Wartbane, there being a third unit of these guys, and they share the points tax on the psi cannon, being a +5 per psi cannon. These guys can obviously take 2 for every 5 models, so in a form within a big brick of 10, you could be looking at adding 20 points on. So you'd be looking at 280 points for a big brick, which is a lot, to be fair, of points. But obviously the output that psi cannons can now give is huge. I personally run these guys with 4 flamers anyway, so this won't affect me massively, but I can understand people running them with psi cannons. Good change overall. I expected it to be a bigger increase, especially with Wartbane being as good as it is. I think if Wartbane were to have been made a 2 DP detachment, they would have got a bigger buff. But overall, I'm happy. I expected a bigger points nerf to these guys. So, Brotherhood Terminators. The 4-man and 5-man have both gone down 10 points, but then the 8-man and 10-man have both remained the same. Their datasheet's exactly the same, so obviously they get +1 AP when fighting not monsters or vehicles. They do gain a points tax on the 4th unit, so obviously with these guys being battle line, you can run up to 6 of them if you really wanted to. So they do gain 10 points on the 4th, 5th and 6th unit. There is that +5 points tax on psi cannons again, so obviously if you wanted to run the max amount of psi cannons that you could, in a 10-man you could run up to 3 of them, so it puts them at potentially 5 points more than they were originally, but overall it's not too bad. I personally think if you're going to run them, the best in 4 or 5-mans, purely just to be annoying natural expansion holders with them being OC3 if you run them with a banner, which you're going to run them with a banner. So yeah, I think the best in 4 or 5-mans, it's an okay change overall. I don't think they needed the increase in terms of the psi cannons. I think that they were nicely pointed already, but I'm happy overall because it definitely could have been more with the changes to the psychic rule. Paladins. So these guys, very similar to the Brotherhood Terminators, for 4 and 5-mans have both received 10-point drops, and then for 8 and 10-mans they've remained the same. So the points tax now applies to the 3rd unit, and that points tax is +15. So obviously if you wanted to run 3 10-mans, you'd be looking at a huge swing potentially. The points tax on the psi cannons as well will really be affecting them. I've had a little bit of a play about today with Paladin squads, because I enjoy running two bricks of 10 of them, and obviously it brings our points from 450 to 475 for the same squad. So realistically the 10-mans have incurred a 25-point uptick, but it's understandable as to why. I can obviously see how 5-mans will be very good, especially in the Hallowed Conclave. Banishers and their new 1 DP detachment, allowing them to obviously swing up into large vehicles and demons, is huge, especially going into damage 3 on the charge. But yeah, overall, good change. Thought the points increase would be more due to the new detachment, so I'm happy that it isn't. It's just a shame about the psi cannons. The psi cannons will really affect Grey Knight players, I believe. The Razorback. So the Razorback has remained at 85 points. Its datasheet is identical. I'm happy to see that the datasheet has remained the same and the points have remained the same, purely because with the new the new way that cover works, the fire focus ability that it has can be quite powerful. I reckon, especially on a little 5-man unit of purgations or a 5-man purifier squad, the ability to give it +1 AP will be huge. It means you can turn your purifier squads into AP3, which is nutty. But yeah, happy to see the Razorbacks untouched. Personally like running them, so I will hopefully see more of them on the table as well. The Grey Knight Rhino. So like the Razorback, the Rhino is completely unchanged in terms of its points, in terms of its datasheet. So I'm happy to see that. You don't really see it much anyway, but I reckon with the new Interceptor detachment, it may get some play, allowing the Interceptors to get an additional 3 inches of their movement. It's going to make them incredibly speedy. So yeah, I reckon we'll see some play in there. The Land Raiders. So I've grouped all of these 3 in together. So the Godhammer Land Raider and the Land Raider Crusader have both remained the same at 220 points. However, the Redeemer is down 20 points, which is very interesting in my opinion. So it's gone from 270 points to 250 points. You didn't really see the Land Raiders, maybe the Godhammer, if any of them, with our inability to have decent long-range shooting. You might see them more often now with the changes to Psy Cannons. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good change overall. Who doesn't love to see a Land Raider on the table? I mean, it is just a rolling brick. But with the new changes to terrain and everything, I reckon we might see maybe 1 or 2 enlists now. Be interesting to see. I'm definitely tempted to run one just to see how it goes. Let me know how you guys think Land Raiders have changed for Grey Knights specifically, especially with it being the only transport that can transport Terminators. Storm Raven Gunship. So the Storm Raven has remained at its 280 points. I quite like the Storm Raven. I have one in my collection. There's no points change on it, but there is a tax on a second unit, which puts it to 300. I very uncommonly see 1. Never have I seen 2, so I don't think that points tax will actually affect many people. The new rule to the Storm Raven means it now doesn't have the aircraft keyword, which now means it doesn't have the hover keyword. So its datasheet has changed from being able to fly 20+ inches to it can move a flat 14 now. Please let me know if I'm wrong, but I do believe that it can fly through terrain now without affecting its move characteristic. Like I said earlier, we don't really see it much anyway. However, it can be quite fun to drop just a bunch of paladins and a venerable dreadnought in the middle of the board, and it does have some decent sort of long range shooting, but it's nothing to screech home about. And finally, the Stormhawk Interceptor and the Storm Talon Gunship. I've put these 2 together because they're identical. They are exactly the same in terms of points. They are exactly the same in terms of datasheet, besides obviously the aircraft rule. Now with the new aircraft rule, for these guys, it means that they can only remain aircraft. They now do not have hover. So what this means is they effectively have to fly a minimum of 20, and then they have to pivot 90 degrees. And obviously with the new changes to terrain and everything like that, it probably means that they're flying onto the board, doing nothing, and then having to fly off the board, with them having to do it in straight lines as well. So we didn't really see these guys much anyway. I really don't think we're going to see these guys at all. Maybe in a casual game just for the crack. But I really do not think we're going to see these guys, which is a shame because they are really cool models, especially the Interceptor. I do think it looks pretty cool. So that has been the change to the Grey Knight points. Obviously, we've taken a lot of points decreases, which is nice to see. But the changes to the Psy Cannons, I think, are really going to change up how we operate. With the new 8-inch Deep Strike, I think we've got a little bit of a buff there, especially with the Psychic rules changing as well. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think Grey Knights will be at the top tables of competitive, or do you think we'll stay in the unholy depths of where we were at the back end of 10th edition? But with that, we've come to the end of the video. Please, like I say, please like and subscribe. Let me know how your armies have changed, and I will see you in the next video.